Iran surprised the world by spreading images of a new underground base of military drones, built under tons of solid rock. The installation, revealed by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, shows runners directly excavated in mountains, missile launch platforms, armed drones ready to take off, and autonomous command systems. It is not just a base. It is a symbol of deterrent and strategic survival. The message is clear. Even under attack, Iran will continue to operate. This choice by underground is not random. It refers to an ancient tradition in the field of asymmetrical war. During World War II, the Germans were pioneers in building underground factories, trying to escape Allied bombing. Integers of arms production, such as the dreaded V-2 rockets, were buried under concrete and earth layers. U-boat submarines, for example, were housed in virtually indestructible coastal bunkers in occupied French cities, such as Lorient and Saint-Nazaire. After World War II, the Cold War further deepened this trend. With the nuclear threat hanging over the planet, the United States and the Soviet Union have created a true race for underground structures capable of resisting even atomic explosions. Nuclear silos, command shelters, and bunkers capable of supporting dozens of megatons were built. At the same time, technological development responded with specific weapons to drill these defenses. The so-called bunker buster pumps were born, with warheads capable of penetrating the soil and reaching deep structures. One of the most powerful today is the GBU-57A Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 13-ton American pump designed especially to destroy underground bunkers. This type of weaponry is considered one of the few real threats to the bases like this now revealed by Iran. But the differential of this new Iranian base goes beyond physical protection. It is designed to operate continuously and autonomously, even under direct attack. This means that if external communications are cut or the surface is bombarded, drones can be launched without interruption. The base acts as an independent organism, protected from the external environment and capable of maintaining its offensive function active for long periods. It is a direct response to military capabilities of opponents such as Israel and the United States, which have advanced soil bombing and penetration technologies, but would face logistical and strategic difficulties in completely neutralizing such a base. The revelation of this base also happened at an extremely symbolic moment, days before the new nuclear trading rounds between Iran and the US. That is, it was not just a force of strength, it was a geopolitical move. A reminder that Tehran is willing to negotiate, but also prepared to resist and retaliate if he is pressured militarily. The threat is not only at the depth of construction, but in the nature of the weaponry it houses. Drones, especially Shahed 136 models, are cheap, effective, and difficult to intercept. They have enough reach to reach targets throughout the Middle East and, as has been seen in Ukraine, can be exported and used in other war theaters. When one of these drones was captured by the Ukrainian forces and aired at the US Congress, the reaction was immediate: concern about the growing Iranian military influence outside its territory. This increased the tension between Washington and Tehran and highlighted the technological advance of the Iranian military program. Now, with these drones stored in armored corridors, the threat becomes even harder to neutralize. Iran is not only building weapons, it is building lasting protection for them. And this new base, hidden underground, is proof that its offensive power is being transferred to where traditional bombs do not easily reach. Iran's underground base, and resisting direct bombing, represents a fundamental change in the way the country prepares for future conflicts. It is a war strategy designed not only to confront an initial attack, but to ensure operational continuity even in the most adverse scenario. Military analysts call this second response capacity. In other words, even if the enemy launches a massive preventive attack, Iran will still maintain hidden, intact, and ready to act. This is what most worries strategic planners in countries like Israel and the United States. A war is not only won with the first attack. What really matters is the ability to resist and answer. And that's where underground structures like this completely change the game. The United States, for example, spends billions of dollars on spy satellite systems, air surveillance, precision attacks. But identifying, mapping, and completely destroying a solid rock, buried installation, operating with redundancy and autonomy, is a task that requires not only brute force but surgical intelligence. A calculation error, and the target remains functional. The logistics of an effective attack would be highly complex, requiring multiple coordinated bombings, recognition drones, cyber war to disable defensive systems, and perhaps even infiltration actions. All this without guarantees of total success. Therefore, many analysts evaluate that this base is not just a shelter. It is a piece of psychological deterrent. It is a way of showing the world that Iran is not helpless, even when it seems isolated. By projecting strength from the underground, Tehran wants to put himself as a resilient regional power, which will not be erased with a simple airstrike. Israel, Iran's main regional opponent, knows this kind of threat well. On several occasions, Israel has carried out surgical attacks against nuclear facilities in neighboring countries, such as Iraq in 1981 or Syria in 2007. But none of these operations involved deeply buried structures like this drone base. To deal with this, Israel has adapted their F-15 and F-35 fighters, equipping them with penetrating bombs such as Blue 109 and GBU-28, capable of piercing reinforced concrete and reaching underground targets. Still, experts recognize that even these weapons would have difficulties in the face of a base protected by natural rock layers, strategic Hall's dispersion, and systems redundancy. This is precisely Iran's bet. It makes the effectiveness of an attack, spreading the risks and forcing the enemy to multiply his efforts. In addition, by making the drone launches automatic and isolated from the external command network, the country can maintain attack capacity even under electronic block or destruction of communications. It is as if Iran said, "You can try to reach us, but there will always be something that will survive to retaliate." It is a logic of resistance that drinks directly from tactics adopted by non-conventional forces throughout history, but now raised to a new level with state-of-the-art technology, military automation, and complex infrastructure. It is no coincidence that this revelation came surrounded by symbolism. Iran released images of the base with profiled drones as soldiers in formation, red lighted corridors, and military operators walking under thick rocks, all carefully choreographed to impact the internal and external audience. For the Iranian people, it is national pride, a demonstration of sovereignty and resistance. For opponents, it is a reminder. Any attack plan against Tehran will have to consider an impenetrable underground factor. At the same time, Iran does not abandon its diplomatic rhetoric, sends ambiguous messages, shows strength, but leaves doors open for negotiation. This duality, threat, and disposition for dialogue has been the basis of Iranian foreign policy in recent years. But now, with a base that allows you to throw attacks without leaving the mountain shadow, this policy has gained a new arm, that of the invisible, silent, and potentially devastating war. The impact of this underground base goes beyond the military field and directly reaches the geopolitical board of the Middle East. The mere existence of an installation of this size reinforces the image of Iran as a power that not only survives sanctions and threats, but which invests heavily in strategic dissuasion. It is not just about protecting your territory. It is about projecting fear, uncertainty, and respect. For opponents such as the United States, who traditionally bet on aerial superiority and fast war, the presence of an enemy who can hide under tons of rock, operate autonomously, and respond with armed drone swarms is a real challenge. And more than that, it's a reminder that the times of conventional war are being behind. In the new battlefield, conflicts are asymmetrical, underground, invisible to radars until it's too late. The Shahed 136 drone, already used in previous conflicts, is the clearest symbol of this transformation. Small, cheap, hard to detect, and capable of causing significant damage, it represents the new face of Iranian air power. And with such a base, its use becomes even more effective. These drones can be launched in successive waves with programmed targets, operating from underground points, far from the immediate reach of conventional bombing. Moreover, they can leave different tunnels, making it difficult to identify the origin and challenge the enemy's air defense systems. In a possible conflict, Iran would now have the ability to maintain constant attacks for days, perhaps weeks, even under full pressure. This changes the strategic equation of any military action against Tehran. A simple air bombing operation, such as those performed against exposed targets, would no longer be enough. To neutralize this base, it would require a set of coordinated actions that involve spying, sabotage, cyber war, and precise use of penetrating weapons. And yet, there would be no guarantees of success. It is this kind of uncertainty that makes the underground base a strategic asset. She doesn't have to be invulnerable, just need to be resilient enough to make any attack costly and risky. And in this risk game, Iran knows how to play very well. Nuclear negotiations between Iran and the United States, marked by shy advances and mutual distrust, gain a new background with the revelation of this base. Tehran sends a direct message. He is not negotiating from a point of weakness. On the contrary, it wants to make it clear that if the conversations failed, it has real, ready, and effective deterrent. This can change the rhythm and tone of the next diplomatic rounds. Washington, pressured by regional allies such as Israel and internal public opinion, will have to consider the real cost of a confrontation. After all, attacking a country that hides part of its military power under the earth is to enter a tactical maze, where each false step can lead to an irreversible climb. More than a military installation, this base is a symbol of strategic survival. Iran has learned over decades that it cannot compete on an equal footing with the traditional military powers in the open field. But it can overcome them in resistance, in complexity, in unpredictability. This is the essence of asymmetrical war, compensating for the disadvantage with creativity, accessible technology, and a layer-based defense structure, where the underground is just the beginning. And this logic goes beyond the Iranian borders. Other countries with limited capabilities may be inspired by this model, building their own invisible fortresses, multiplying resistance points, and making the logic of the preventive attack increasingly difficult. In the end, the Iranian underground base is not just a response to external threats. It is a statement. Iran intends to remain a central actor in the Middle East policy, with or without the endorsement of the West. And for that, you are willing to invest where few can reach, under the earth, away from their eyes, but right in the center of decisions that will shape the conflicts of the future.